Okay, so a very good evening to all our attendees and viewers who are watching us live on Facebook and YouTube. A very warm welcome to the Saga series. A quick recap for those of you who are new to Pick a Book. Pick a Book is all about reading, more reading, and inculcating the habit of reading, research, and presenting the summary of it in our regular meeting sessions. Creating a better world by changing the sense of self through the habit of reading is the vision of Pick a Book. Currently, Pick a Book marked its inspiring presence in four countries: Sri Lanka, India, Singapore, and UK, with over 1,000 plus readers, 18 regions, and 70,000 people inspired through our sessions so far, all in just a span of 1 year. So, Pick a Book is still continues to spread its wings across the globe. So today, Pickabook has come up. We have come up with a new initiative, a brand of its own called Author Saga series, wherein the authors can reach their readers and individuals with like-minded interests. Authors can also discuss the key insights of their books, and the readers can have this wonderful opportunity to know more about the author, more about the book from the author himself. So, yes, today we have with us Mr. Revant with his a wonderful book, Selfienomics. Welcome, Mr. Revant.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, Revant is the author of a book titled Selfienomics, and he is a six-time TEDx speaker. He is an MBA graduate from Wharton School of Business. So he is passionate about philosophy and memes. So a very, very warm welcome once again, Revant.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Really excited for our talk today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you with us tonight. Okay, first of all, from Pick a Book, all of the team from the Pick a Book and everyone who is watching us live, we wish you, we congratulate you first, and then we wish you a long way in writing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, that really appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, so to start with, I want to know, were you an avid reader? I mean, are you still? Are you an avid reader?
So that's interesting, and I feel like I was not an avid reader. In fact, like my book is a self-help book, and before writing Selfienomics, I had never read a self-help book before, and that is crazy. So that was just I had some ideas and then I decided to write, and I feel like that helped me because
Mhm.
because I had not read any self-help book, so I was not conditioned into this is how a book is supposed to be written. So my style of writing was very different from a lot of you like other people, other like authors. So it was relatively more original than like getting very inspired by one particular writer and writing in a very similar style. So no, I was not an avid reader. Currently, I try to read. I usually read nonfiction now after like my book released. And the
Mm.
last just 2 weeks, I've started listening to Harry Potter again. So it's been
Okay.
amazing. And like like I'm like doing the dishes, I'm cooking, or like I'm running, or doing anything, or I'm in the grocery store and on my headphones I have the audiobook playing or
Mm.
in the speakers I have so it's like just been amazing. I'm really enjoying it.
Awesome. So that's a different start in a way, actually, because everybody who have come onto the stage before in the series, so everybody is like first time author, but then they are into reading, but it's quite surprising and interesting in a way. Maybe that's an added advantage for you to have your own style of writing, not having any influence of others and their writings. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah, great. Um, okay, so how did your journey as a writer start? But before that, what were you like? What are you into? Like your profession?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So when people say, "What are you?" or "What are you into?" I don't say my profession because I think
Hmm.
I and everyone else we are like more than our professions. So I don't like to define myself by a day job. But I would say like I'm passionate about a lot of things. Like I use the word philosophy, but philosophy is very broad.
Mm.
Um, in terms of profession specifically, at that time when I was writing the book, I was in New York, and I was I was working at a bank. So yeah, I was doing that, and then of course the biggest challenge, as you may understand, is like the where do you find the time to write? And so I used to try to write a little bit, like 200 words, 100 words during my commute to work, or like after work when you come back on the weekends. So I try to give myself targets. Okay, weekend if you write 1,000 words, weekdays you have to try and write 500 words, and like that bit by bit. Ended up writing like around 65, 70,000 words. So that's how it worked out. But yeah, to answer your question, at that point I was working at a bank when I was writing the book.
Great, awesome. So now I understand where you're coming from. In your style of speaking itself says what motivated you. In fact, the way, the style of writing, you are speaking the same way as you intend to write the book and share with us. So I understand that pretty much. So what made you interested in writing this, especially this book? And why is it titled that way, Selfienomics? And even more added to that, it says a seriously funny guide to live a good life. So what does that extra icing on the cake mean?
Yeah, no, so it's a great question, and you asked me two, three questions in once. But basically, I um, in the last like when I was writing the book, or like before that, been interacting with quite a few really smart people, people from IITs, IIMs, Harvard, Wharton, like from like all prestigious universities. And I've not only these people, but everyone. Like, you look at people from India. I was in London, I was in New York. So whenever I met people, I saw that often people are data driven when it comes to their work and career. Or so when you're looking at a job, you go into Excel and you do some hardcore analysis. Or when you're ordering food, we sometimes, from Zomato, we look into ratings of food. Or is this restaurant 4.5? Is this restaurant 4.6? Is this movie on IMDb, is it 8.1 and 8.2? But when it comes to our personal lives, we don't use any sort of data. We don't use any sort of if I ask, why do you follow whichever religion you follow?
Mm.
Why? It'll most probably be, okay, my parents are Hindu, so I'm Hindu. My parents are Muslim, so I'm Muslim. My parents are Christian, I'm Muslim.
Yep.
How many ratings or reviews did you see before you decided which religion you want to follow? Again, the
Exactly.
same thing with uh, our diet, which I think is the most one of the most important decisions we make is, are you vegetarian? Are you non-vegetarian? Are you vegan? What are you? Most people, I would say, if they are vegetarian, if the parents are vegetarian with the family, they'll be vegetarian. If their parents are non-vegetarian, they'll be. No one looks into ratings or reviews or science or which religion, which diet is actually better for the environment, which diet is better for me. Or so that is something which surprised me. Those really smart people who go to IIT and will sit on Excel the entire day, zero idea about their personal life. And not only this, about marriage, about a lot of these sort of or relationships, and like they don't think in a structured way. So that's what motivated me. Okay, there's something which I can write about to help people make better choices, help people make more structured choices. So that's how the entire idea came up.
Mm.
And to answer your question, the second question and third question was around why it's called selfienomics and why it's seriously funny. So, about selfienomics specifically, so the word selfie itself, first of all, when I had written this book quite some time ago, and it just takes a lot of time to publish. So it was around 2014 when I was writing, where the word selfie was still big, but it was like relatively a newer word. Uh, so out then, like, selfie is essentially just taking a picture of yourself, and then you maybe apply filters and, like, you choose the best photo. So I was like, similarly, for me, Selfienomics was just looking into your own self and sort of reflecting on your own actions, and then applying the necessary sort of filters in your life to sort of improve your life. That was sort of like the symbolism. And the reason why I chose that is also because my book is sort of catered towards young adults, people from younger age groups. Although that's what the age group that I was targeting when I was writing the book. But after it got published, I realized that some lot of even older people have
Mm.
liked the book. So that was very interesting to me because I thought the references in my book are very focused towards young people. But even then, like, I saw that a lot of different people from different age groups enjoyed it. The seriously funny part, sorry, it's a very long answer because so there are three
Yeah,
questions
yeah,
in
yeah.
one. So I've noticed that most self-help books tend to be a bit boring or preachy often, and they often
Mm.
will say very similar, oh yeah, follow your dreams, follow your passions, never give up, wake up at 5 a.m. Like, the very standard things, money is not important, and those sort of things, which I think people are like fed up of hearing and they're like bored of listening to the same thing. So I tried to incorporate humor into my book just so that, like, when people are reading it, they don't feel like, man, like, this is just bored. And I feel like, I'm sure you all also face a challenge that younger people are so many other things outside of books. They have so many other forms of entertainment that they don't want to read books. So I like need to try to keep my book funny and, like, more engaging. So that's how that came up. So I have a lot of references of
Mm.
Bollywood, of cricket, of politics, and, like, just the stuff which people talk about on a regular basis, and I've tried to keep it humorous.
Awesome. So I was awestruck, with everything you're saying, the illustration. See, as you said, everything is making some sense. Though you targeted, the younger crowd, but still, every point that you speak to is quite relating to every age group, for that matter. So that's no wonder why the reviews are so good, because everybody a review is like, usually it's like two, three lines, but for your book, it's like they're writing a story. I have seen a lot of reviews that actually they're warning us before it is little long. So that's the impact you have created on everybody. So congratulations on that. Um, Good.
Thank you.
So, yes, can't wait to know more what's inside the book. So, to start with, I would like to know, um, we noticed that you used hashtags in your book. So, what led you to do that, and why did you choose to do that?
Yeah. So it sort of answered it in my previous question a little bit that my book was catered towards people of a
Mm.
particular younger age group. Also, secondly, as I said earlier, I was not heavily into reading. So at that point, I used to spend a large part of my free time on social media, and, like, people, how do they write on social media on using hashtags and writing with memes, like,
Mm.
expressing their thoughts in the form of a meme.
Yeah.
So I also, when I think sometimes, and, there is something funny going on, or even something serious going on, in my head, I'm thinking of a meme. Like,
Mm.
there's some meme of Akshay Kumar, or there's some meme of some, like, so in my head, I'm still thinking in that way. So I wanted to express my thought in the book also in the same way, whether it's a hashtag. So hashtag funny, hashtag, whatever it may be. So I just
Mm.
think in that way. And I think that people, there's a two elements to it. One, some people think it's not classy enough. Because I feel in the writing space there's a lot of snobbery as well. Like, you're supposed to write big words and, like,
Yeah.
express things in a fancy way. And if you use hashtags, some people will say that you're not proper. That's how, like, certain authors are, like, revered because they're, like, use very, hi-fi flowery language. So I've got some sort of criticism as well from certain people who
Mm.
are not in that sort of like really sort of pretentious sort of an audience, which my book is not catering towards. But so that's been one element. But I feel like the people who genuinely just want like a fun read,
Mm.
they like the style of the book.
Superb. Awesome. So, what is this wingman theory?
So actually, I have a chapter. I think it's the seventh chapter on my book. It's called the Wingman Theory, and
Mhm.
it's pretty much about how, um, first of all, like as an introvert, there's sometimes like I think an introvert, but I still have a lot of friends, and I think there's a some people don't sometimes label people as, if you're an introvert, you probably just have two, three friends, or you don't like meeting people and this and that. So what I noticed was in order to make a lot of network or different connections, it was very useful sometimes to almost delegate that responsibility to other people. So, for example, I have one of my closest friends who's an extrovert. Through him, I've made 5 friends. Now, that is
Mhm.
just so my basic try to when I talk about the wingman theory is to have different wingmen who connect you to different people in different parts. For example, and that can be explained done in very different ways. One is like I am in New York, so I have one wingman in Delhi, one in Bombay, one in Calcutta. So
Mm.
when I'm in Delhi, I have I just know one person, but that one person can connect me to 5 people. So
Okay.
one is the wingman theory is just about trying to have diverse wingmen. And when I say wingman is anyone who connects you to new people.
Okay.
So that is one aspect of it. And the more deeper aspect is I feel we are very sometimes uh, our entire social circle is often revolving around the same one or two people. Like I have seen it in my relatives, especially in our older generation, where like when husbands and like when people get married, the wife is often very dependent on her
Mm.
husband's network. So like it's the husband is almost like a wingman, and all the husband's relatives,
Yeah.
friends are. So if there is a divorce, suddenly someone had like 15 friends, but after a divorce, they don't have any friends
Mm.
left because why? Because all the friends are going to the husband. Similarly, in college, I saw like there were like people who had breakups, and then suddenly they were so dependent on their boyfriend or girlfriend's network that they
Mm.
suddenly have no friends remaining. So my um thing is that people are not only like, especially women in marriages, they're not only financially dependent on their husbands, they're often even socially dependent on their husbands. And if you lose any wingman like in your life, you can become
Mm.
socially bankrupt as well. So that's why I always say don't be overly dependent on any one wingman, have
Okay.
diverse wingmen and many wingmen. So that was the entire concept. And I've tried to do that in my own life as well. In however way that I gave an example of Delhi, Bombay, but like, having friends like one friend in law, one friend in engineering, one in like
Okay.
a film school will
Mm.
help you learn way more than having all your friends being engineers. So just yeah.
Oh, I just love this theory. I am hearing it for the first time. Wingman theory. I was, when you're giving examples, it was so amazing. That's why I think Raven, that is why you are able to connect to every group of audience. Mostly, that few unlucky people I can't say, but then yes, this is really really super and very 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 true. I would say because yeah, I mean, nobody as such think this way because that goes by default. When you say unless you say this example, it's difficult for people to observe that. We are so by default get into fall into that. We really if we are doing a particular say if we are an engineer if I'm a doctor, so I usually have only doctor circle, an
Yeah,
engineer
exactly.
circle, Yeah, and if I'm married, my kids' moms or my husband's circle. So it's like we fall into that same kind of theory. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, this is a wonderful point here to grab. So have, like Mr. Raven said, have a diversified wingman in your life. So I think wing men or wing women. So whichever
Yeah.
way. So it's wonderful. So have a diversified wingman in your life so that and you won't be a socially bankrupted person. So that is one word I was liked it. Socially bankrupt. So so great, good. How superb. Okay, so in your book, you also touched upon second degree happiness. So what is that second degree happiness? So I
So
heard these degrees in punishment. So what is the degrees in happiness?
so it's basically, first of all, before I get into that, I feel one is we've been told by social media, by books that we read often, that you're supposed to be happy all the time. I feel like our goal should not be to be happy all the time. It should be to increase the average happiness of our lives.
Oh.
Like, if you are happy, suppose in 2020, if you were to rate right now, okay, how happy were you?
Mm.
Were you like, it's very hard to quantify it, but if you were to quantify it, like, were you like a 6 on 10? So in 2021, the goal is to make it on average 7 on 10. There may be some days where it's 1 on 10, maybe there are some days it's a 10 on 10, but on average, I
Mm.
want it to be a 7 on 10. So that is one aspect of happiness. But the other, whether it's second degree happiness specifically, is I feel there are a lot of things which happiness is the things which suck in the moment but give you happiness later on. And there are things which give you a lot of joy in the moment but make you unhappy later. So, for example, when I look into 2020, I'm there may be someone like I used to do that, maybe not 2020, but like back in the day in 2012, I spent the entire year doing things which were technically every day. I was doing things which are technically making me happy. I'm watching Friends every day. I'm
Mm.
eating like chole bhature or like whatever, like the food that I like every day. But or I'm like spending watching sports every day. But at the end of the day, I am still not feeling happy. Like, if you think, what did I do throughout the day? I'm doing things which are making me happy. I'm like
Mm.
watching Friends, I'm eating the food which I like, but I'm still
Mm.
not happy.
Yeah.
So that's my entire thing is that there are certain things which is like second degree sadness, which makes you happy in the moment, which
Mm.
don't make you happy when you actually like reflect on it. And there are certain other things which when you do, it is painful, but
Mm.
it makes you happy when you look back. When that's like whether it's
Absolutely.
being healthy, whether it's being like instead of watching Friends, now I started pushing myself and try to watch slightly. I won't say higher quality because Friends is also very high quality, but like more different, diversified
Mm.
content. So I just felt like I learned more, and I also felt that it just helps you grow more and just makes you like so that was basically the point of second degree happiness, is just
Mm.
try to focus on those aspects which may not give you joy in the moment but may give you happiness later on.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So you have said without saying a word, and without saying, typically the same style with traditional style of saying, but you have added your own special degree to it. So the ladies and gentlemen, second degree happiness is like yeah, like Mr. Evans said, it's an average. Count the average. Actually, most of the times we take the average in everything, like but then for when it comes to happiness and sadness, we actually don't look at it that way. But it is highly advisable. From what Raven said, I totally agree with it, because see, you have to have a balance. Sometimes it is more sad days, and 2020 probably the most saddest year for a lot of people. So but
I think 2021 is like trying to beat it, like
yeah,
it's
so
giving
2021,
competition.
Exactly. Exactly. But then we started looking at it differently, right? So people who are not so happy with 2021 may not be the same with 2020 may not be the same with 2021. So they have actually learned from it, like how you said. So we have to learn from the diversifications, or from different other things that are thrown into our lives unexpectedly. So, or else you pick something and then choose to learn. So, it is important that you learn from different aspects in life. So, very well said. So, that is the second degree happiness, ladies and gentlemen. Just try to get the average of your happiness and then try to diversify your happiness and try to get the learnings from your diversification. So, very greatly said. Thank you so much, Revant. You have taken us to you are actually showing us a different in a different perspective. These are not the new things, but as you said, maybe because you are not influenced by anybody else. So this is out of your own experiences, maybe out of your own thinking, out of your own thoughts. Probably this is how you think. So this is truly you own your perspective. So that is what probably the making a difference. That is what probably you are invited 6 times to TEDx. And yeah, so everything is going so good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah. So what is your favorite chapter? And here I would like to ask one more question. So along with your favorite chapter, I want to know what is the toughest chapter you have faced, a challenge in writing, or maybe you took a pause to think, little difficulty in putting it in right form, or the way people understand. So
Okay, so I'll answer your second question first, although I may not answer it exactly how the way you probably want me to. So one aspect was when I was writing
mm,
my book, um, I had written it for an universal audience, like an American slash universal audience, where the I'm talking about like things like Obama, or like things which almost everyone in the entire world know about. Cristiano Ronaldo, Federer, those sort of references when I'm using an example.
mm,
But what happened was I tried to publish my book, and I didn't like I applied to a lot of publishers, and they told me, Revant, your content is very great.
mm.
But to be honest, no one in the US, UK, and the Western audience, they don't want to read a self-help book written by an Indian
Okay.
unless it's about yoga or spirituality.
Mm,
So that's what they were telling me, that when I was trying to publish my book in the US, you have to write about yoga and spirituality. It's because every self-help book written by an Indian abroad, which is done well abroad, has always been about mindfulness,
yeah.
yoga, books by Robin Sharma and all of Deepak Chopra and all of these sort of people.
Mm.
So I had to realize that I was not getting my book published. Sorry, yeah, sorry, yeah. So I was having difficulties in getting my book published in the US. So I tried to rewrite my book for an Indian audience, and so I had to change my example. So Cristiano Ronaldo became Virat Kohli. Donald Trump became Narendra Modi, and I let Priyanka Chopra remain Priyanka Chopra.
Okay.
So I had to basically rewrite my entire book, and that was very challenging for me to just
Mm,
do that fully. But then, of course, that like helped me a lot as well, because my first instinct is to think of things from an Indian perspective, so I could even make it more individualized and more personal. So yeah, that was one of the challenging aspects which I faced. Sorry, I didn't remember what was the first question.
yeah, your favorite chapter.
Oh yeah, my favorite chapter. I guess
So, or
my favorite.
yeah, otherwise you can share any of the funniest example you have given. So we just want to hear it from you live, because you were talking about the book, in the most funniest way. illustrated in the most funniest way. So let's hear it from you as well.
So
For
I'll
the
talk about something in relation to my book,
mm,
and I've spoken about this many times in several other talks as well. But so when I was uh, writing my book, I, as I said, I was not into writing as much back then. I was not into reading as much back then. So I had to come up with ways to motivate myself. So I changed my Gmail password to hashtag I am an author, even though I was not an author back then.
okay.
And every time I type my password, I am an author, it just helped me motivate me to write the book. And there were certain times when I accidentally deleted 2 or 3 chapters of my book
Mm.
on my laptop, and I was almost about to give up writing. But just the thought of when I go on Gmail, type my password, I am an author, it reminded me why I started writing in the first place, and that led me to complete my book. Um, at first, set my password to be I hope to be an author, but Gmail said that my password is too weak. So yeah, I've changed my password since then. So please don't try and hack my account. Yeah. So anyway, so this part is actually true, and I still continue doing that in my future. Right now, also, my password is something related to what my goals are. Um, so I've been doing that, and I, in fact, wrote this in my book as well. Like my second chapter of my book is around goals.
Okay.
So out there, I've written about this. Yeah. So I would say that's one part. In terms of favorite chapter, it's very hard for me to pick. I really like my chapter on religion.
Mm.
There's a chapter where I talk about like religion, and like there are 3 parts to it. One is for people who are religious. One is for people who are like sort of confused whether they are like atheists or agnostic or whatever. And there's a section for atheists. I really like that chapter. But yeah.
Super. Awesome. So, you remain a classic example of saying the universe is listening. So, your girl, the universe is listening, your girl. So, so even the Google is also helping you, saying that your password is weak. So, super. That was an awesome. Great. Okay, so if you were to write another book again, so what would you want to change, or what do you want to pick up the new topic or about? So probably you must have talked all your mind out in this book. So what's cooking more in your mind now?
So couple of things. One is from the writing perspective. One challenge that I faced was I used to focus when I was writing. I wanted it to be as relatable to
Mm,
people who are reading it. So I used
mm,
to focus on like what people are talking about, like what are people like. For example, like about 3, 4, 5 months ago in India, like that incident happened at Baba Ka Dhaba. So
mm,
if I'm writing the book right now,
mm.
it's like natural for me to use an example like Baba Ka Dhaba.
Yeah.
The issue was that I did a lot of that in my book, but it takes so much time to publish a book that after 2 years, when your book actually gets published, no one cares about Baba Ka Dhaba. No
Mm,
one cares about Zomato girl who there was some incident like 1 or 2 months ago. So no one cares about that. And there were so many jokes, so many references about recent things. And then by the time my book got published, nothing is relevant anymore.
yeah.
So that is something which I have to be very careful about. In the next book, I want to make sure that when I'm referring to anything, it has to be classical examples. It cannot be current examples.
Mm,
It cannot be current references because people, one week they'll talk about one person, the next week there'll be a new thing. They don't
yeah.
actually care about it.
Yes.
So that is one issue. But in terms of my actual content, I think I want it to be similar to my first book, where it's like self-help comedy. So,
Mm,
for example, I'm in the process of writing my second book, and I'm like talking about, as one example, I'm talking about 5-year marriages, um, and like the way we have, because like our society is like we've grown up thinking of only if you get married, it's supposed to be a lifetime marriage. And I feel like in our generation, we're realizing how more and more difficult that is. And a lot of people are scared to get into marriage because, like, how do I know how I'm
It's a
going to be seven
lifetime
years
thing.
later? Yeah. And
Exactly.
so it's like speaking about a 5 year renewable marriage where you get married and in the end of the 5 years, you can renew it. It's not that you're not going to end a marriage. If you're happy, you're going to renew it. If you're not happy, you're not going to renew it. So just talking about there's one section on that, and there's topics just to like make you think about things which everyone's doing. And I know I understand this is not going to get implemented or something like that tomorrow or like anything anytime soon. But trying to just talk about similar things and
Yeah.
see how we can improve on these sort of topics.
Revant, I bet your second book on marriages will be a hot selling book. Great. So, wishing you
Thank
all
you.
the best. Wishing you all the
Thank you.
best.
Thank you.
And yeah, great. That was a great conversation I had in recent times with you, Raven. Thank you so much for that. So it was really funny. I was laughing all throughout with your great example. So I just can't look forward to go through this book. I mean, I was under dilemma. I understood that it is specifically to some group of people. So I was thinking whether to go with it. I've read some parts of it, but not the complete book as a whole. So now I'm so keen to order this book and get it going. So thank you. So
Sure,
I
no, definitely. And I can recommend you specific chapters also, possibly.
yeah, yeah.
So you could maybe read those. But yeah,
Great. So is this book available on Amazon for the audience to
yeah, it's
buy?
available on all the usual places. Yeah, Amazon, Flipkart.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll find it like, yeah.
So the Kindle version, everything,
Yeah,
right?
you'll find it on Kindle. So yeah, the usual places it'll be there.
Okay. So great. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you must be also liking it so much from the conversation. I know you are eager to buy this book as well. So Amazon, every other usual place where you can buy other books is available. And yes, so thank you so much, Raven, for such valuable inputs and so great examples. And you made it so funny as as possible, to get that interest going in the book. So and also we appreciate you taking time, to share your experiences and knowledge with our audience here. And one thing I liked about this whole session is that you are a sort of an inspiration for that kind of a people where they think reading I mean sorry writing has to be in a certain style, so you have actually erased those norms. So it's like you can write it, so as long as you make some sense, as long as you have a perception of your own. So ladies and gentlemen, you can always write it. So here is the live example of Mr. Raven. So he has just put in all his thoughts out. He has not followed anybody. He has not taken coaching anywhere. So I so loved that. So thank you so much, Mr. Raven. And yep. So ladies and gentlemen, that's it from us today and from author Mr. Raven. And so these are the few snippets from the book Selfienomics. So go and grab it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed the conversation. And to anyone who's listening, feel free to add me on Facebook. My name is Revant Himatsingka, and you can even add me on Instagram. My hashtag, like my handle is Revant Himmat,
Hmm.
like my first name and then Himat.
Okay.
So yeah, feel free to add me on Instagram or Facebook, and feel free to reach out. I'm usually quite good at responses. So yeah, I would love to have a chat. Yeah,
Thank you. So we will be posting all that in the messages very soon, ladies and gentlemen. So just go and have a look at it. And thank you so much. I think you all must have enjoyed as much as we enjoyed doing it. So thank you everybody in the room and who are watching us live there. Take care. Bye
thank you.
bye.
Take care. Bye.
See you all next week. Bye.